I would like to welcome you all to this recorded conversation today. My name is Konstantin. I run a design studio based in Vienna called Studio Elastic. And today I'm here with my old friend and collaborator Wolfgang Fiedl. We've been basically invited by PDP to record this conversation. I've been very lucky to be invited twice already to Novi Sad to speak at the conference, at the festival, and obviously due to current circumstances, we basically were asked if we could record this conversation. Wolfgang is a new addition to the team of speakers this year. We are basically old friends and collaborators, and Wolfgang is running a design and architecture practice in Vienna called ICP, Institute of Cultural Policies. And I would like to ask you, what are you thinking of right now, Wolfgang?
Yeah, I'm thinking of our conversation actually, whether we managed to pull this off, which is a kind of first-time occasion, like the way we are staging it here. Also, actually, the place where we are located is quite special, I can say. Mm-hmm. It's of course not a matter of coincidence. We thought about the question where we're going to stage the whole conversation, and the fact that we are sitting here in front or behind the thing which is here in the back, which is a full dome basically, is of course no matter of coincidence, because first of all we both teach here, which is the University of Applied Arts in Vienna. More precisely, this is the Department of Digital Arts, in which the Full Dome Lab, which is the correct title, is located, which is exactly the place we are going to sit here now. And also, I think it's actually quite nice to have a setting which indicates also partly as well, at least to my understanding, the fact that we are both hands-on people. We like stuff, we like objects, we like actually to work with real things. And that's something I think which connects us ever since we met first, I would say.
Absolutely. I still remember well the first time we met. I think it must have been probably about 15 years, 12 to 15 years. Do you remember the time we met?
Yes, I think it was longer than 15 years, unfortunately, I can say.
Was it?
Well, it was in London, that's for sure, and it was, we got introduced by a friend of mine who happened to be the brother of my then girlfriend, with whom you lived together in London in a flat.
Yes.
And we all studied actually basically in London, which was the sole purpose for being there. Although there was a bit of party thing going on as well at the time. Well, for me it was quite intense, really studying time, I have to say. But nevertheless, it was a beautiful time, which we all enjoyed. And it was our first kind of exposure, and I had a really warm and good feeling right away, actually. And although not knowing where the further life will lead us, after London, we then ended up meeting quite soon back in Vienna, actually. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Actually, we have been also we stayed in touch, and we also have been working together quite a lot. We're really strong collaborators ever since. I think it must have, again, talking about numbers, but it must have been probably around 15 to 20 projects we've worked on together. In all different fields, but mostly exhibition and art related stuff, but also publications. We've done a few publications together. So I would like to introduce your practice a little bit. The Institute of Cultural Policy basically deals with quite a few themes, or we're really bringing quite a few themes together. I've already briefly talked about it. The theme of design is a very important part, but also architecture. You are actually an architect. but also art exhibitions and quite a bit of academia. Can you tell us, just as a big theme for you, but can you just give us an overview of these fields merging and what it is that you are actually doing with your practice?
In order to do that, I will have to unpack the various layers, which built up over the last, say, 15 to 20 years. Because really, the Institute of Cultural Policy is the sort of culmination of many things I have been doing previously. So it's kind of, it's quite a young company as well, I founded the company together with my wife some now almost 4 years ago, which is a fairly recent sort of event in that sense. But it really is the sort of culmination, as I said, of many layers that I added up over the last 15 to 20 years. Starting with, of course, academia as the kind of background I'm coming from as a trained architect, earning my first back then shillings or euros, in architectural studios, like really traditional sort of good old orthodox architecture, building houses, stuff like that, But then quickly moving into the realm of art, fine arts, back then with my partner Alexandra Berlinger, with whom I founded this platform called Tatort, and with whom I actually then ended up doing, like, at least for 10, 12 years, quite intense, sort of mostly site-specific kind of art projects, socially engaged work, politically engaged art pieces. So it was a very intense and really a very focused time where I was solely actually working in the realm of arts. Never lost my sight of architecture and other interests I had at the same time as well. But of course, clearly, the fact that we did lots of exhibitions as artists remained like a mainstay in my sort of overall portfolio, if you want, to the current day. But then architecture kept on creeping back in, actually, but almost more like a way of thinking, almost like a sort of methodology or a toolbox, Not in the sense that I would come back to say, okay, I'm now building houses or I'm dealing with sort of traditional ways that architecture is usually associated with, but really like as a toolbox, Because architecture is a quite nice study, if you see it from a sort of more strategic perspective, You learn a lot of sort of formal things. You learn how to organize things, you learn how to structure things. But there's a lot of different sort of knowledge fields and practices actually overlapping and coming together.
Yes.
And that's a fairly good foundation actually for doing anything. I give you a good example. I mean, it's a cheesy one, but it comes to mind as I talk about it. Virgil Abloh, the celebrated fashion hero, he is an architect by training, and he keeps on claiming himself actually that the architecture is actually a quite nice foundation, for whatever you happen to be doing, in the realm of creative endeavors, And then the field of academia you mentioned was always close to me as well, because ever since I left university, I was teaching in one or the other capacities in various universities. One thing, and the other was that at some point I decided to have to be doing a PhD, to really go one step further into formalizing this kind of academic way of researching, unpacking a knowledge field, and really formalizing the kind of findings into a concise sort of piece of work, including a really sort of concise methodological sort of way of going about things. So this kind of discipline, of academia was always with me as well, Sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. So and all these layers sort of now have been leading to the point where I said, okay, now I can say I can found an institute, which sounds quite stern, and quite serious, which it is to a certain extent, but it's fun still, Secondly, I can really talk into depth about this really sort of blurry thing which is called culture, and the policy is really this kind of formal, way of actually packing something into a sort of strategic piece of information.
So the policy making is also like something that you have also studied, right?
Exactly. So that was part of my PhD studies, you know, so which was in the realm of political science, you know, after all. That was the sort of main focus of my PhD, which took 7 years because it was at the site. It was a so-called part-time PhD, so it took a long time.
In England as well?
In England. It was in Plymouth, at the University of Plymouth, where there was one guy, he still actually does it. It's the so-called Planetary Collegium. So it's a quite funny name, but it kind of tells a lot about the sort of idea of the founding figure, which is Professor Roy Escott, who really founded this PhD with the idea that anyone who would actually make up the PhD based on a lot of different types of practices is allowed to study with him and is allowed to actually join the University of Plymouth for that sole purpose of actually mixing quite a bundle of quite diverse sort of backdrops into one concise piece of work. So in my case, it was really like the architectural component, the art component, then of course this kind of activistic sort of political and socially engaged element in my artwork, and the sort of sole sort of philosophy of politics, if you want.
And that mix, so basically you're bringing a mix to the table, which is, you know, if you would look at it maybe uninformed, it would look like fields that are not so much connected, but you somehow managed to really connect them in a very beautiful way, almost in a way that it feels like they need to be connected. It's almost as if one could not function without the other.
Well, from my point of view, that's certainly the case, you know. So I never actually, and I'm really proud to say this, and I thought about this like a million times over, because things just seem to have fallen in place, you know, looking back, you know.
As if it was written already and it's just
exactly.
unfolding.
But I was discovering them, you know, and it was a quite long and sometimes a quite sort of heavy
journey.
A heavy journey I had to take, you know. And there was lots of failures. There was lots of moments when I sort of lost my belief in the sort of in the sense that I'm making of all this sort of disparate types of practices, you know. And many people kept on asking, so what the heck is it you're doing? I mean, we don't understand. Sometimes you do this, you have like many different kinds of hats. You're not doing things seriously. You stay at the surface. You appear to be shallow, you know. And I said, yeah, that may be so from your point of view, you know. But for me, it has to be like that, you know. There's a kind of inner purpose in connecting the bits and pieces from my perspective. And I always told people, you know, give me a couple of more years, and even from outside it starts to make more sense, you know, which I believe now is actually the point.
Absolutely. Know? So, but let's for everyone to understand, let's go to the source basically. So you're from a place in Austria which is, you know, for me being Viennese. From the most eastern part of Austria, the furthest away. It's if I would want to drive to where you are from, I think it's like basically the longest way through our country that we can take. It's about a 7 hours drive through this little country.
Which is absurd for a small place like Austria.
It's absurd. I think actually to get there we even have to leave Austria for a little bit, because the highway goes through Germany for a little bit to get there. So some people would even argue that it's not even Austria anymore. It's where's that place, and where have you grown up?
Well, the place is called Vorarlberg, which is a state, one of the 9 states of Austria, and it's the furthest away from Vienna in the sense of being the most western state of Austria. It borders to Switzerland and the south of Germany, around an area which is called Lake Constance region, you know, so Lake Constance being the big lake that we all border to. So it's a quite mountainous, you know, it's a quite beautiful area in terms of the quality of nature, the natural environment. And at the same time, it has more resemblance when it comes to the sort of mindset of people to Switzerland and Germany, you know, in many ways, you know. That's just, you know, that's just because of the geography relates us more to that parts of Europe than to the eastern part of Austria, you know.
So actually, for me, something that I find would somehow define that area is actually a very strong sense and a very educated sense of architecture. Actually, like architecture plays a really big role of that region.
Yeah.
And also craftsmanship. So why is that?
That's a very good question, and you're not obviously not the first one to ask that. And I was trying to unpack that very question already myself, actually, through various ways, not least through a quite big exhibition that I had the pleasure to curate and to conceptualize. Probably come to talk about that a bit later. But I think most importantly is really the element of the craftsmanship. So since it is this kind of mountainous area, and culture really didn't play a really huge role for quite a long time. So it was actually a rural place, where farmers actually predominantly set the scene, for what was going on. And so culture was really not in that sense, culture in the sense of the high culture, art and all that kind of thing, did not feature that highly on anyone's list for that matter for a long time. So the sophistication and the quality and the sort of ingenuity of the people, which certainly they have, was directed towards other pastimes or or professions, including a lot of the craftsmanship you mentioned already, but also then engineering to a certain degree. So it is a very industrialized area, compared
tucked
to
away between the mountains. Right?
Exactly. So mechanical engineering, the sort of ingenuity went into the inventions of all sorts of equipment, machinery, tools, and that kind of stuff. And also architecture, and architecture on the back of the craftsmanship culture, because the first architects who happened to actually take up the quality of the craftsmanship at eye level, sort of in the 60s and 70s of the last century, really benefited heavily and hugely from the level and sophistication of the craftspeople, So it was almost like the other way around, that the craftspeople informed the sort of people who came from academia, the young sort of aspiring architects, in order to really take the sort of lofty ideas from their studies onto the ground, into the sort of reality of the people and the needs of the people in Vorarlberg. And that's the kind of special sort of breeding ground for this type of architecture we are talking about.
Also a breeding ground for you. So little Wolfgang growing up there, surrounded by an incredible amount of really gorgeous architecture. I've just last year been to Bregenz, where I noticed that something that I've never ever seen anywhere else. For example, you go through the streets and you see all the different periods of architecture, all the different eras, but shuffled together in a way that really works. So you have old meets new in a very unique way. So tell me, when you were a kid, were you basically the kid who was building the most amazing Lego castles?
Yeah, totally. I was totally that kind of nerdy sort of building type, hands-on type, I would say, in a more general sense. That stuck with me, of course, obviously till the current day, but there's many things in between. But going back to the formative time, first of all, I was really this crafty kid. I was building Lego and all kinds of kit-like sort of tools and toys and whatever have you. On top of that, I was really drawn to this craftsmanshipness, of the area first. So the first idea I had in my mind about an occupation I would then take up as a grown-up eventually, back then when I was 6-7 years old, was to become a carpenter,
Yeah.
So really this kind of hands-on-ness of my formative years was a really important element, and I really related to nature in many ways,
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time in nature. I'm such an outdoor kid. I was such an outdoor kid. I'm still an outdoor man, an outdoor person, because I really have a close relationship to nature in many ways. Trees, animals, whatever have you, anything that nature has, including the kind of memories of smells, scents, but very specific sounds as well. The tactileness, the tactile quality of the sort of various elements that appear in nature. So all these things are the sort of are deeply, ingrained, in my sort of in my kind of memory as really important building blocks for whatever I did after that.
And is that something, because also me, I grew up in the really, I was like the last house on the street before the forest. So I would consider myself as a forest boy more than a city boy, actually, at heart. But sitting in a place like this, packed with technology and stuff like that, do you miss that nature part? Do you get that through travels or by going back home to Vorarlberg, or do you get that through books, or how do you get that nature back into your life, being surrounded by so much technology and digital things?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, because of course at the same time, I mean, I miss nature whenever I'm not in nature, being in cities or spaces like this, obviously. But on the other hand, of course, we all know how much technology did change already our lives and continues to change them. And there's no way around that, We have to sort of arrange some sort of relationship with the sort of technological edge of our existence, if I may say it like that. And that's a reality which we share, like most immediately, being teachers here at the Department of Digital Arts. All things digital, all things technological, is actually what we are being in touch with, and essentially are asked to be teaching and talking about as well.
But isn't it also like, for example, if I look at what I'm teaching here, it's actually quite hands-on and quite analog, actually. So
exactly.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to bring into this bunch here is a little bit of the craft and I think it's the same with you, right?
Totally so. And I think that's the quality of our specific sort of entry point, into this department especially, but also in general, the way we do things, if I may talk like for both of us in that sense, because I know you so well, I know exactly, believe to know quite well how you tick, I need to be careful here. So I think I can speak for both of us that the sort of tactility, the realness, the physicality of things is extremely important. And I think that's actually the quality that we may bring to the table, which discerns us from quite a lot of other people, that we are actually able to fuse these sort of two ends of a story quite nimbly and quite nicely and quite uniquely, and to make it into a kind of new hybrid experience, as I like to refer to it, which is exactly what would we bring to the table.
So it's almost also bringing in slight imperfections or maybe like glitches in the perfection of industrialized processes, right? So it's the humanness.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Looking at the output of your studio, I can actually see a strong human element in it. Is that something that you are basically consciously trying to maintain, or is this something that just is just there by chance?
No, not at all, actually. It's not by chance. It's a deeply conceptualized thing, and this is where the sort of philosophy PhD person in me comes to the fore. This is something which is really almost at the very bottom of my strategic way of positioning me in the world around me, which is to claim, first of all, that I'm a humanist, And many people deemed humanism to be dead, like already 10, 15 years ago, including a lot of philosophers, I'm totally opposed to that position in many ways. I mean, this is a topic in its own right, but nevertheless, that's the first thing, Humanism is at the core of what I'm doing. Secondly, I think even if you maintain the position that the technology is going to be more and more important even in the future than it is already now, there's never going to be the humanistic point is never going to be lost. Humans are never going to be losing out like entirely in this equation. There's always going to be the spot where the human element is coming into the picture. And you know what? And this is thanks for the segue. The erroneous, the sort of glitches, is something that makes it all the more worthwhile actually talking and thinking about this, because this is actually a quality that we should be talking about rather than a problem, And so the sort of strange and devious ways by which humans go about things, it's at first may appear to be a problem, but actually it's a quality, Once you start learn to dealing with it, like in a positive and a sort of warm way of addressing it rather than sort of dismissing it, And secondly, if you start seeing that the whole endeavor as a humanistic one, I think it again opens up the spectrum of the kinds of work that you are able to do. Also from a point of view that even when you lack a certain piece of information or a certain sort of quality or experience, you always have the kind of bridge or the sort of segue of actually connecting to someone who gives you exactly what you are missing. So like the idea of actually co-working, collaborating, cooperating, building teams, working in teams, working as collectives, working with like-minded colleagues, like you are one, is actually something that is really at the core of my sort of working philosophy as well. I don't need to know everything myself, I only need to know who knows, and how to engage and to work with these kinds of people. And I think we actually are a perfect example for that kind of...
Absolutely. Looking at the things that we've done together, for example, there, coming to that humanness, there's a really beautiful example, not what we have done, but something that describes that is, to whoever is listening, had the chance to visit Tate Modern in London, for example. There's something, you have this incredible building, huge and just like mesmerizing. But then there's something that's really strange and beautiful at the same time, and that's the floor. So it's basically you walk through the space and it's got this untreated wooden floor that basically ages by time because people walk over it, and so it starts to, and it's like, and you wonder like how was it possible that they did that, the person responsible, the architect responsible for that was actually able to get this approved, something that is actually aging and almost falling apart over time. And there is somehow there's something very beautiful in that, and I personally, in my design practice, I try to incorporate that as well somehow, something that is not perfect, something that is maybe a little mistake, that's an error that's not supposed to be there. And I think it's something that I'm looking for, that I'm looking for when I'm looking at other people's work somehow. That's the work that's somehow sticking with me, and your output definitely has that element. So I'm just remembering now wooden structures that are somehow like combining fragility but also crudeness, somehow combining two very opposing features. So can you tell us, what if you would have to, can you tell us maybe like a handful of the most essential aspects that a piece of work that you want to output has to have?
Well, that's really tough, especially in a spontaneous way like this. I try to sort of get about it, by sort of deviating around the sort of question. So, but you touched upon a really important thing with the sort of imperfection of things, and the fact that things age, they change their appearance over time, That leads me to one really important element, a factor in my work, which is really like a sort of common denominator through all the kind of work I'm doing, which is the element of time. So time is really of the utmost importance for me. And see, this goes completely against the grain of any sort of traditional way of thinking about architecture and the way it's being taught, which is, it's kind of this profession where a building has to stay forever. This kind of, this sort of endless sameness, of the appearance of something that is being put up there to be there forever, I'm totally against that idea. I'm totally opposed to that. It's beautiful if we have some sort of monuments, and things we can remember about the past. And that will always exist anyways, by and of itself. That's an aspect of culture, of preservation, and so on and so forth. But in terms of talking about the kind of architecture that I stand for, time for me is essential in the sense that things can fall apart, things can disappear. Give things the sort of freedom to actually age, to disappear, to turn into a new shape, The sort of temporal appearance of something is really important for me. That's one thing. Space in conjunction with time is the other element, obviously also important. And the way I'm talking about architecture and art at the same time is through the lens of space, rather than a building or a edifice or an object or something like that. So in the conjunction of space and time leads to this idea of the performance. So performativity or the performance is exactly the conjunction of space and time. So you have something in a space that changes its shape, its appearance over time. And that sort of performativity of space and anything that happens inside is really the sort of most basic common denominator of the way I approach things. And it doesn't matter whether I do a book, an exhibition, a piece of art, or a strategy for a company, you know, when it comes to a sustainability issue, you know, within a company, which is something that we keep on and doing like as of late quite frequently as well. So that's the sort of very core of our philosophy.
And tell me, so we have met in London, and you have been, you know, somehow commuting between Austria and London and also other places for quite a few years. So, for example, in my practice, my studio is called Studio Elastic, and that is because I always knew that I need to be elastic, I need to be flexible, I need to basically be able to expand or contract depending on where I am and what I'm doing. And so, you know, I started doing nomadic work really 20 years ago when nomadic work wasn't a thing. So for me, I didn't have like other people that would inspire me, like how to do things, how to work remotely. I just did it, you know. I would drive around and hack with my laptop, you know. We called it is a weird word, but it was called war driving, where you would drive basically with your laptop open and you would search for an open Wi-Fi network, which most of them were open and didn't have passwords, to be able to get an internet connection to send stuff to clients. So that's how I always worked. I think the travel aspect is a really essential one for you as well, correct?
Totally, hugely important. I mean, I think that's the reason why our respective work resonated, like mutually from the very beginning. I remember actually your masterpiece in London, your master thesis, where you have been dragging a cart filled with color through London, basically through a part of London, East London, and leaving a line on the pavement, basically. You know, I mean, a beautifully poetic piece, you know, which deeply resonated with me, and it's a beautiful example for this mobileness and the sort of temporariness of things.
Exactly.
And also, you know, this kind of nomadic idea is something that I keep on, trying to get my head around ever since I remember actually thinking consciously about the quality of architecture that I am looking for. You know, things that are being mobile, that are being moved around. You know, that are not permanently at the same spot. You know, for an indefinite amount of time. You know, and I think. Another thing you actually touched upon is this kind of fact, is this an idea that one needs to travel in order to actually fulfill the full potential of this kind of nomadic, quality of life. I mean, it has got sort of a dirty sort of undertone now with global warming and all that flying around. This is being seen rather as a problem and certainly not the answer anymore. Globalization is also this kind of buzzword, you know, for everyone who is seen as a capitalist and so on and so forth. But you know, and many of those things are obviously true, you know. But at the same time, for me, globalization is something that is a spiritual and an intellectual process, rather than anything else that is being usually associated with it, you know. So for me, I need the influence of the planet at large, you know. Anything that I can soak up is the basis for the kind of work I'm doing, you know. So I'm immensely curious. And to restrain my curiosity to one singular spot on this planet would feel almost like losing out on
all the others.
On all the others, on the entire culture that is out there, you know, on the entire richness of the planet, you know. So I have my huge problems now. Obviously, I know you do as well, with the current situation, being grounded, you know. Not being able to travel, meeting friends, collaborating with other people, soaking up things that are really tremendously interesting, and I find them usually in other places, you know.
I find it quite interesting because last year, I've been doing a lot of work with musicians in the music industry, working a lot with labels and musicians. And there's one guy, for example, that I really appreciate him. He does amazing stuff. He's an Austrian guy. His name is Manu de Lago. He's a hang player. Actually, he even played, for quite a long time in Björk's band. Was kind of like part of Björk's whole setup. And last year he went on a tour. I think it was an Austria tour on bicycles. So they were like actually touring. The whole band was riding on bicycles through Austria, and so I think we can also redefine what travel means. We have to. I think we're forced to, as we see now. We can't just go to the United States, and people from the US can't come to Europe. There's no way right now, unless you find a loophole. There is probably a few loopholes, but it's very difficult to travel. And it's almost like we take it for, we don't even talk about it anymore. It's normal, right? It's like, it's just how it is. There's one thing in what we're doing right now. We should be actually, in Serbia, talking in front of an audience and interacting and engaging with people. Which we do now through this screen, I found it very, very challenging to teach via Zoom, because for me the main reason of the main thing that gave me, gave me the thing with teaching was, being in the room with my students and getting the feedback and seeing their sparkles in their eyes and seeing the frustrations. But I guess we're adapting, right? So we hope it's not going to last forever. But there is, if I look at your output from your studio, there is quite a lot of work that's really happened in faraway places. So right now I'm thinking about your work with a leper colony in India, or another beautiful project in West Sudan. How do you, first of all, how do you get to these places, and in what role? So if you're going to places that are developing, in what role do you go there, and what would a project like that look like? Give us a rough kind of like overview.
So I mean, you mentioned that's the right way of framing the question, because first of all, there's an important thing to be mentioned up front, which is that you don't happen to end up in places like that just because you decide privately that you're going to do that. So it's in both cases it's a mandated way of being brought or asked or introduced to these places. Basically in whatever position it can be, for international organizations, like in the case of South Sudan, with a mandate by the United Nations. In case of India, it was by a mandate of the university in Linz, which is a university here in Austria, which had a program up and running there together with local NGOs, actually trying to look into the sort of immediate living circumstances of the community of these leprosy affected people. In that very case of India, I was really actually I was commissioned to be the project manager of a group of students who continued to go there in order to build together with the local community, with the local people, various projects like buildings. One was a school, an extension to the existing school. Then we did a nursery, we did a community center, we did 2 projects in the realm of housing, improving the immediate housing conditions. So that was really hands-on together with the students from Austria, coming in and out like frequently in a sort of 3-month interval, and then we had the local people working with us together at the same time.
Is it dangerous to work with people in the leper community?
Not from a medical point of view, no. It is dangerous more from a psychological point of view, because of course these people are heavily indebted, in the sense of having to having to bear all the sort of stigmatizations they receive from the society at large around them, from people around them, being sort of basically locked up in a camp, you know, which was the one in which we have been working in, you know, being this sort of segregated sort of people, you know, within their own sort of community is really tough to take from a mental point of view, you know. So in that sense, I think it was really sort of, it was kind of hard to enter the kind of whole situation from a psychological point of view, like an immediate sort of human to human point of view. So that was the biggest hurdle in that case. In the case of South Sudan, it was another hurdle, which was the fact that South Sudan currently still is in a war, in a civil war sort of situation, which is the reason why only United Nations mandated people are allowed internationally actually to enter the place.
So I could not fly to West Sudan
No,
right now.
for example, you need really like the permit from the United Nations or any kind of international organization operating on the ground for that matter. And of course, there's a lot of security issues and real threats to one's own security and health for that matter. So in that case, it's really like a physical problem more than it is a social or psychological ones. Although, of course, that comes to the equation as well. Obviously, having to deal with people which are under the sort of effect of a civil war, which is raging almost since the inception of the Republic of South Sudan, which was in 2012, which now is sort of roughly 8 years, takes its toll on the mental situation of the people there as well. Obviously, so it's in both cases, it's very complicated, and you really need your time to tune in to understand what's going on, to really sort of get at eye level, you know, in a lot of ways with the people you're having to deal with, and you're trying to help with and trying to work together with at the end of the day. You know?
So this humanness that you're working with, especially in these cases. How does that differ from the humanness, for example, of dealing with a big, consulting a big corporation in Austria, for example, or somewhere else? So basically, you're not just doing, work with developing communities, but also with, big established corporations. Can you find things that are connecting these very different fields, or is it two totally separate things you're doing?
I think it's both to a certain extent, but for me, the sort of overlappings outweighed the sort of differences, because in the end of the day, we are talking about human beings, with whom we communicate, with whom we interact, with whom we are actually getting the work done at the end of the day. So from me, the entry point is the sort of idea of the organization. So as I said, being mandated from an organization like the university, like the United Nations, or working with a company like an established company here in Europe, which is also a big organization in the end, is always the sort of lens I'm trying to sort of get about these kind of engagements. Meaning that an organization is only as good and as responsive as the human element inside the organization. So I'm always rejecting whenever people say I blame it on the system, it's the problem of the system. I'm totally opposed to that kind of view, because there's no such thing as an automized sort of self-running system, it's always the human element.
The humans running it.
You only have to look close enough, first of all, and secondly, you have to be willing to engage, which is sometimes painful, of course. It's not always positive,
The willing to engage brings me to another question that I often ask myself when I think about you. Before you talked about a project that you want to go more into depth, which is a really beautiful project called Getting Things Done. Before you do that, before you go into this project, I would like to ask you, what do you actually do when you don't work? Because to me it seems you always work. Do you ever sleep?
Yeah, I do sleep, first of all, but of course probably not as long as others, I don't know. See, this is the point. I think I really, and we talked about this funny enough actually quite recently, so probably that's the reason why you're asking me this, just to frame it for the viewers or listeners. I developed over the years, or decades, I may have to say actually, a kind of holistic take on things, you know. So this may sound a bit sort of spiritual or whatever, New Ageist, or whatever you call it. I don't mind actually, because I really mean what I'm saying. This holistic take I'm trying to sort of get at is really the kind of bigger picture I'm talking about, which is the fact that everything is connected to everything in a certain way. We only have to convey the linkages, you know, we only have to convey that the relations are there. And then, of course, conveying is also starting to understand, starting to analyze, and starting to understand how they work, and starting to understand how we can intervene or even manipulate, you know, some of these linkages, you know. And I mean that in a sort of positive way of manipulating. And I'm not saying I have the whole map is in my mind, obviously, but parts of it, you know. At least I would say big enough parts for me to sort of link more things than many other people probably are able to do, you know. That's I think fair enough to be saying.
That's what I observe, at least when I work with you, or I get close to you, you know, that you somehow have this incredible clarity about things, that somehow where I have a feeling about it, you can put it into words, which is for me something that it's like, I don't know how you do that, but it's so things are coming together basically.
Yeah, but it's really, again, layers and layers and layers of studying, of reading, of experience. It's a philosophy, you know, it's a life philosophy. I mean, it's not as easy as to say I woke up and had a eureka moment and now the map, like, you know, is in front of my mind's eye and I can read the whole code behind the surface and all that, you know. The sort of Neo moment, as I call it, you know, which I love anyways, but it's not quite like that. So it's layers of building up, studying, starting to understand a bit better. And of course, by the way, reading books is not a bad thing, even today, you know, with all the technology, handheld devices, blogs, social media things and so on and so forth. It's still a good thing, and I recommend it dearly to my students as well, to reading books, you know.
Absolutely, but basically the bigger thing than reading books, really, like the really big thing about is getting things done.
Yeah,
correct?
Exactly. That's also at the heart of my, you know, but here comes the experience, you know. So, and don't get me wrong, that no one is getting me wrong, is really important to emphasize this. Reading is only part of the story, if at best 50%. The other part is getting my hands on stuff, getting my hands dirty, you know, sticking my boots into the ground, you know, being really that hands-on experience person, you know, is really important. And that overlapping is probably the most fertile, you know, and most sort of promising ground upon which new ideas really can sort of come to life. And that's exactly the kind of ground where I usually get my best ideas, you know, to say, okay, getting things done means that you need a strong conceptual foundation, obviously, but at the same time, you need to know how you're getting it done, you know? So you need to have the tools of the trade in order to convey the idea and to convey the message, to bring it in a space in a case of an exhibition.
So that exhibition, getting things done, is an exhibition that you kind of conceived also, you've developed, you've basically taken with you around the world. Tell us a little bit about it. Time is running out, but just so we get an overview.
It's an exhibition that was going on for almost 6 years. It was shown in, I think, almost 35 locations all over the planet. It was organized and run by the Austrian Foreign Ministry. And the idea of the exhibition was really to study and exhibit the sort of recent history of architecture and craftsmanship in Vorarlberg. Okay. Exactly what we talked about before. And if I talk about, and if I say recent history, we talk about the last 50, 60 years, which is the post-war period, basically up until now, you know. And which is this incredible period where this kind of craftsmanship-ness and also the type of architecture that you have been talking about came about in the state of Vorarlberg. Yeah. So the exhibition tries to sort of convey the story, also the kind of emergence of the phenomena, as I keep on calling it, and with various means. But the sort of central element of the exhibition is again the human element, which is the conversation, to be more precise. Exactly what we are doing here. So my idea was to say, I can only, because we are not talking about a written sort of history, which is easily accessible on the level of text, books, internet, whatever have you as a means. But you need to we need to unearth the knowledge, you know. And the only way of doing that is to actually talk to the actors, talk to the people, to the protagonists of the movement as such, you know. And that was clear from the beginning. So I thought about a kind of methodology. How can I do this? Private conversations, I take notes, whatever. And then eventually I said, well, if I happen to go to all these people, and we talk about 60 plus people, you know, it's an ongoing project, by the way, still, because it was quite successful. I said, let's do it in the way of a formal interview. Let's frame it like a formal interview, so many people can participate in the same experience, like me being the one sitting together with these people. And the interviews are still on the internet, you know. Everyone can look at it.
English or German?
There's an English short version of sort of 5, abbreviated version of 5 to 8 minutes, you know, and the long version is unfortunately only in German. But it's over 60 hours of recorded and edited conversation. So it's oral history, you know, and but told by the very people who actually did it, you know. So I'm only the sort of mediating element. I'm only there actually to bring it about. I'm the kind of in-between guy, if you want. You know?
And sorry, that was actually an exhibition, a touring exhibition, right?
Exactly.
So going to places like, what's the wildest place that you found yourself in?
I mean, there's many, but one that kind of stuck was Halifax. Because it was, I mean, everyone probably knows Halifax. I knew it on you know, with the finger on the map, basically. It's this kind of Canadian outpost. Sorry for the people in Halifax, it's really fantastic. But it was super cold. It was like the cliche sort of image of Canada. But it was a fantastic experience because I had no idea actually how people would react to this kind of content in a place like Halifax. But I had the most beautiful workshop with a group of students from the local university. And it was a beautiful relationship in the sense that they resonated with the stuff on some level, you know, whatever it was. You know, for me, that was a good experience as well to see actually how many layers you actually have in order to resonate with the stuff. Once you convey the sort of DNA of the whole thing, you know. So the idea of the exhibition was not to present a slick surface, but the whole mechanism, you know, the DNA, as I call it, of this development, of this movement. And if you see the whole plan, you know, open, laid out in front of you, you are able to relate to the building blocks, you know. So and this is the kind of vehicle idea of an exhibition that I love so dearly, to actually restrain our sort of inclination as designers to make it beautiful, to make it glossy. That's good. That
make
comes on top but
right?
make it real, make it accessible, you know. That's really most important for me.
So people in Halifax now can relate to architecture from Fadelberg.
I mean, to a certain extent, I believe, which is quite amazing.
So where can people find more about your work?
Well, there's online sources, obviously, you know. I mean, there's 2 websites. One is the Tatort website, which is really my artistic work. It's TAT. I think it's going to be seen then.
We are going to link everything below.
So that's one thing, which is my artistic work, and the other one is my work now under the name of ICP, Institute for Cultural Policy, which has also its website. It's not entirely up to date. Sorry for that. But it gives you a fairly good overview of.
You're a busy man, so you're more busy.
Yes, something has to suffer.
Exactly.
You know?
So tell us, ICP, so institute. So actually, the Institute of Cultural Policy is an institute.
Yeah, it is.
And what I find quite fascinating is that the name Institute of Cultural Policy somehow already incorporates your fields of interest. So basically the institute is like an architectural kind of creation. It's like the architecture, not just of a building, but the architecture of an institute to make it stand as an institute. Then the culture is the human kind of like the art and the humanness coming together. And the policy is the policy making, which you're so interested in. Kind of like looking behind the curtain of how things work, right?
Exactly. The policy is really this kind of institution building element that I really worked upon for the last 20 years really heavily, and which is basically at the core of my PhD as well. The idea that to make a human experience a bit more valuable and also sort of durable in the sense of a social contract, which is really the sort of foundation of the very fact that we live in a kind of ordered way and human way together, is really dependent on a certain degree of structural integrity, you know, which is really this institutionalized sort of quality of things, you know. So and this lies in everything, you know, starting from the university up until to a corporation with whom we work with now on the level of environmental policies and stuff like that. So it's always the same sort of set of basic things, you know, that you need to be looking into, you know, when you start working with organizations, coming back to that idea. And the Institute really has another element as well, which is really this idea of formalizing things on a research or academic level.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So that we really do sort of serious work, not to say that there's no fun, quite on the contrary, but serious in the sense of formalizing things to be compared with other things other people are doing and have done previously. To go public, you know, to really be someone who is exposed publicly with a set of ideas and policies in the sense of putting something to be debated, you know, which is really important as well. So we declare things to be of our opinion, of our making, you know. I think to be public in that sense and to be able to be facing criticism, you know, and to engaging in serious and constructive discussions is also a quality I'm really looking holding close to my heart as well.
It's also something that I feel you're doing a lot, and you're probably also doing with your students.
Exactly, but of course, and that on that level, I think we share a lot of commonalities. I mean, you talked already about this kind of immediacy with working students in the classroom and so on and so
being
forth.
The spark, kind of,
Exactly.
You know, like giving them like enthusiasm to start their own thing, really.
Exactly,
You know?
and this is my core message. You know, I mean, teaching is that's a whole other conversation, you know, and I'm thinking about teaching heavily as well in many, because I must, you know. If you happen to be a teacher, you have to think about it. You don't just take a textbook, stand in front of a group of people and tell them what they are supposed to know, you know. This is really something, I mean, a lot of people do it. I believe it's old school and we shouldn't be doing it anymore, to put it on simple terms. But I think it's much more important to say, let's try to infuse the students with the kind of basic elements they need in order to get active and get creative themselves. You know?
Exactly.
So exactly, that's kind of sparkling, inspirational sort of getting the kind of thing across moment, you know, that you talked about, is exactly what I believe teaching should be all about. You know, it's sort of getting the message across that whatever is necessary to be creative and do great work lies within the students themselves. You know, you only need to unlock the potential, but not with like a million textbooks, you know, that someone is supposed to read according to some curricula, but with something that is more sort of tangible, more immediate. Yeah, exactly.
A spark. Give them the spark.
Exactly.
Time is running out. It's really great talking to you, as always. We could continue forever. We will
anyways.
We will. We will also, we have a project in the pipeline with and in Serbia, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, me too.
So we will maybe, you know, meet some of you guys at some point, you know.
I'm sure.
So it was really great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
we're
Coco.
gonna check out your work also. All the links and details are gonna be somewhere below, somewhere there. They always show. And yeah, and thank you very much to the team from PDP. You know, they really over the years have really become something like really dear friends. I've had amazing times there. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be in such an inspiring place, you know, to record our thoughts and our conversation. And yeah, I hope you guys could take a little bit away from this. Thank you so much also to our man behind the camera, Luka Sabot, a really dear friend, collaborator and student of both of ours, great artist. He was helping us today with even more technology, but I think everything worked fine, hopefully. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. And
we're going to come to Novi Sad anytime
we're
soon.
gonna come anyway, because it's really got a big place in my heart. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, Svetlana. Welcome to Novi Sad and to PDP 2020 conference. It's a little bit different this year because of circumstances in the world, so we couldn't have live lectures. How are you feeling? How do you feel in Novi Sad?
First of all, hi, Sneža. Thank you for having me here. And we can imagine all these people here, like all these trees and stones.
If we're anxious, we can imagine them naked. So.
I do. That's why I am so nervous. Yeah, I'm super excited about next few days because I like do that teaching creativity, and I don't know what to. I got sorry.
It was a lot of writing and a lot of planning, and now you're.
Yeah. We start to speak like in
I think
March.
it was February.
February. Yeah. And everything is changed from February. Oh my God. Yeah. I think it's strange times, but I like it because it's something new and the world is changing.
You think it's gonna change because of this?
Yeah, sure. Because I think that people go to the dead end. Not people, society, all humanity went to dead end, and we need to step back or even maybe jump to another level to understand that everything is changed inside us, in the world, and I hope this old world that was maybe died couple years ago maybe and now it will be disappeared and we will live in new world.
Well, I hope so. I hope so too.
Sounds crazy, yes.
Oh, it doesn't. It sounds really.
But we'll see.
It
We'll
sounds
see.
reasonable. I mean, if this brings out the empathy in people, it's gonna. I guess it's for the good then. Let me start by introducing you. We had a chance to speak for a couple of months now. This is Svetlana Livchenko. She is a great perceiver and a woman of action that can't stand still, as she's a walking generator of creative energy and ideas. Svetlana is a visual artist, a photographer, curator, add something if I'm...
and something more.
and everything else. And also, oddly enough, you're an ecologist by your diploma. Your work has been showcased throughout the world in places like Berlin, Vienna, Paris, Roma,
Los Angeles,
LA, right? I forgot the biggest one.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
And you're currently working as a curator in Avant Garden in Kiev.
Yeah.
And on the educational platform, the photography fair in Kiev as well, right?
Yeah, program director in Photokey Fair, not just educational, but everything. Don't say it to my director that I do everything.
No, I'm gonna keep quiet.
Yes, you introduced me like I want to marry you. No, I like
We
it.
can talk after the interview. We will manage something.
Yeah, it's all truth.
Maybe you can start by telling us who are you from your perspective. So who is Svetlana?
I am a person. I'm a human being, a woman, a mother. I can't describe myself by one word.
With one word,
I'm just me. Maybe, now I am more curator because I start make photos and when someone tells about me, they tell she's art photographer and no.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
But when I do photography, when I work with photography, I feel this happiness inside, and oh my God, maybe I'm a photographer. But curator is much more interesting for me because you can combine different stuff, different words, different ideas, not only yours. Because as a photographer, you can do like only that you can do.
Yeah.
And it's just a photo or creating photo books, writing something. But when someone has this idea, but you see all this connection like from the top and say, oh my God, guys, come on. It will be like this, and you make a new, you make a body for these ideas. I like it. I'm thrilling with it. I'm really, really. When I do curating, I'm super happy. I don't know, like blessed. I feel blessed, even maybe.
Do you feel happier when you do curating than when you do photography?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you have all these different angles and perspectives from all these people, and then you can just make a puzzle out of it.
Yes. But puzzle maybe not that word, because puzzle it's something
it's pre-made.
that exists and you build it again. That was broken and you build it again, and it has limits. But I see it like building new one with the pieces, and I don't know what it will be at the end. It's just like intuition, and it's super interesting when concept give birth to itself. For example, we have an online exhibition of paintings. When artists, Darina Momot, write to us girls to Avant-Garde Gallery, Culture Agency, we changed the name. She wrote that I want to do something with you, and I have this series that I made in quarantine. During lockdown, she draw the pictures every day, and she draw the states that she felt like. The first one was happy, like blessed stupid idiot, like, oh my God, something changed. I am home with my with my friend.
Well, it was still fun.
Yeah. It's like fun. Then when everyone start buy this toilet paper and this crazy stuff, it was fun, and then it became anxiety, then fear, and everything, that apathy, and she draw all these states, and when she wrote to us, we said, okay, let's try. And we built the online exhibition of paintings. Come on, how you can see paintings online? You can't see this paint, and you can't smell the oil. You can't touch it when nobody sees. But it was interesting. We create the 3D model of flat. Of it wasn't her flat, but when I create this idea, oh my God, it was really cool. It was born in not burn. It was made in the flat, so we need to exhibit it in the flat. And when we open the exhibition, there is the people can see each other. The quarantine was not such hard and strong, and but we decided not to make the offline exhibition because to feel this. Border with everyone else, and when we start searching for the 3D model of flat, we met the architects that okay, we have this 3D model. maybe it's
Also, they
super long.
just they just gave to you their model of a flat, and then
Yeah.
you could put the exhibition in there. Right?
Yes. And then I think that it will be good to add music, because when you walk through this flat and its music, it can be like beating of your heart, and maybe some noises that you hear in your flat, or maybe some music. And I told my friend about this idea, and he said, okay, but I can't do this. I will try, but a week. And I know one guy who can made it, but maybe I don't know how. And next day at the morning, he met that guy just
Out of the blue.
for accident, and say, what do you want to? Do you want to make this? He said, oh, I have. I also be in quarantine, and I made this. Like music for these states, for our excited.
And it was just they
Yes.
didn't know about it.
Yes, because
okay.
concept is when it's right, when you go to your way, when you go, feel this like threat, everything helps you to make it
Yeah,
real.
the universe comes together and helps you
sure.
do.
Yeah, and the funny thing is when we have an opening day, and the last drawing, the last picture, when I come to Darina, I said, okay, and where is the last one, the last piece of this series? She said, do it have to be? I said, yeah, sure. You need to go away from these states. How do you feel now? She said, I don't know. And I proposed her to draw this. Every this picture, she make photo on her mobile and draw this photo with herself and her boyfriend, and you always see the hand with the and I proposed to make a photo, make a picture when she said and stand and draw the last one piece, and with all these pictures, the last one is all that drawings in one. Yeah, I will show you.
Yeah, I can kind of picture it in
Yeah,
my head.
and
It sounds really cool.
and it's pretty big. And in the night before opening, she wrote me, Sveta, sorry, but I didn't finish it. I can't. I want to sleep. And I woke up, read it, and well. Oh, it's super great, because concept give life to itself, because we the last piece is exit from these states, exit from quarantine, exit from lockdown, but nothing changed. We didn't exit that days. We didn't feel free to go out, and even now. As well now, because everyone have a much more personal space now, and it's a different feeling when you just near someone.
You think that personal space began like now in the quarantine time, or you think that it's like the thing from like that it's been happening for some time?
You start. Now it's strange when someone is near me.
Is near you, yeah.
Not because I'm afraid. I'm afraid to get this corona. I don't. But why are you so near? Why are you so near? Go away. Oh, you're pretty. Okay.
Then you can come.
Stay.
So you think it changed like permanently, that it changed a bit like a mindset?
Yeah, I think yes. I think
Yeah, it makes sense.
and it was a problem of humanity, this change in our mind, because the theme that we didn't prepare.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
haven't talked about any of this in our...
Okay, I will talk about it. This our mind has three actions. When it takes information, like we receive information, we think about it,
Yeah, we process it.
Process it, and we, the mind, we and our mind. Put it on the shelves. But now we only receive information. We don't receive information only when we are sleeping. We always like phones, social media, advertising, music. Someone talks, and like me now, and. Because of that, and you need only 23 minutes a day. Do not think about nothing, anything, and do not receive information. That's why the brilliant idea comes to you when you're in shower. When you don't receive information, the mind is like reload. But we didn't do this, not taking shower, but I think we didn't. That's why I propose to everyone meditate at least 23 minutes a day, and that's why the mind start stopping some process because too much information, and we start we start to be indifferent to others, because all this scrolling, you scroll and scroll, you start scrolling your life, your partners in your life, something I will find better, I will find smarter, I will find something more interesting, and you start scrolling your life because of that, and nobody is needed nowadays, because you have online everything. You can live in. You can't even don't leave your flat whole life, because you have a Glovo. Do you have Glovo?
We do have, unfortunately or not. But I could see the same thing, as well as you also don't have time to think about others, to feel empathy about somebody, because you're so filled with everything that you don't stop and think, oh, how's the other person feeling, or how's my friend? Or...
Yes, and as well, when you scroll, for example, Facebook, you can see, oh my God, something happened, something where I don't know. Oh my God, so many people dies, and next picture will be some cat, or wedding. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then you forgot that people died.
Yeah.
And this, we start being different.
Yeah, it kind of numbs us completely.
But
we kind of went off the course completely, which is fine.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to be. So would you like to tell us what is your project here in Novi Sad, and what do you like to do in general?
We'll see.
We'll see. It's open for improvisation.
I don't know. The project, the exhibition, you mean?
Oh yeah, the Guide is an Artist project that you have.
Project, it was my first project.
Ever?
Ever.
Really?
Yeah. I started shooting photography, fashion photography. I don't remember this year. Maybe 10 years ago, I don't know. And then I start asking myself, who is that girl? Why is she standing there? It was pretty good pictures, but why she's wearing like that? Why I add this color? Why?
Yeah,
what's
what's the
behind?
meaning
What
behind it,
is
yeah.
deeper? I start trying to see deeper and find the answers because of. Stop it.
We can cut this.
Yeah, and then I start to study art photography and understand art photography. It's okay. We will speak about this later, you can speak by photography and speak some thoughts, some ideas, maybe some philosophy of your life. The God is an Artist was like a project for some course that I visit there that year. I don't remember. Okay, doesn't matter. I try to prove that the God is an artist. God, I mean, not religion. God, not this man with a beard on the clouds, but this some energy, universe is the artist. Everything that we see, it's an art. It's a piece of art. Even some these leaves that just swimming in the water. It's super beautiful, and it's yeah. And I try to prove it. For this purpose, yeah, I think yes. But I have a discussion with some curator when I show these photos, this book, because I think that every project must have a body, and for photo projects, photo books is a body, and you can do this photo book as you can give body to the project, not just like a piece of paper, but you, if it's about something that super hard for you, super heavy, it can be heavy book. You can be super small, but super heavy. You can put the stone in there that you take and understand that this something, or you can make some unpleasant pages, or maybe it's the pages can change to the end.
So you basically take all the senses in your approach when you're making something. You think about the touch and the smell and
yeah. I think that you need to use every sensitive.
Every sense. I think it's sense, yeah.
That you have, much more that you have. If you can, and you will see the whole picture. This touching, smelling, sound, maybe some wind, if we talk about offline exhibitions. Yes, and I think about this project from very beginning, it will be a book. And I start to shoot some photos, just shoot everything that I saw, and I have some feeling, and just put maybe not just a camera, it was a mobile and a film camera, digital camera, whatever I have with me, and just shoot it. And then if it was film, I boiled it, I burn it, do crazy stuff. And if it was digital something, pictures, photos, I printed it and then do like with the acid, use tape and some. Also, I printed it on just office printer, but on old photo paper, and it was.
Yeah, the ink was moving.
Yeah. And it was moving, and so every photo is one and only. That's why I think I prove it, because if I do the same, it will be another way. It's really different, and it is in book. You can see it. So yes, and then I was in some flea market of books and found old Bible. take it and then edit all sacral books pages because I don't think that religion is. I think all religions is about one, but everyone choose that one that feel comfortable
Yeah.
in it.
If
You want to be sad and scared about everything, you can be okay. So yes, and then I put the photos in this Bible and scan it, but I don't see even just put it like random, super random, and even don't write what was written on these pages where I put these photos. And someone who have much more time than I read it and said that it really suits this page, text and photo. It's makes sense together. Yes.
And it all happened accidentally. You didn't intend to.
Yeah. And here in Novi Sad, it will be the first exhibition of this project because as I said, I thought only it's a book, it's okay. And after that, I met on portfolio review. It doesn't matter. Okay. And I want to say about this book. There's yes, the decision to use Bible was pretty simple. Maybe yes, it was first depth, first layer, but I was young.
No, it suits the
yes.
the
Yeah,
theme
now
perfectly.
I maybe do something different, but after I create this book, I send it to one open call and dummy, and this that year it goes to Paris Photo.
Oh.
It was so. What? Paris Photo, my book, I just started, oh my gosh. And then I presented on Vienna Photo Book Festival, and some book dealer, art dealer from Paris bought this book, and this book living its life. Really. I don't, I am super stupid about all this advertising PR and something. I just put it on site and forgot about it. And someone just call me or write an email. I bought your book in. Some professor of philosophy from Frankfurt or München, I don't remember, such a beautiful book. What? Where did you get it?
Did you have idea that the book traveled through all those cities and hands?
Yes.
Did you know about it before the guy contacted you?
No.
Oh.
I just contact with this book dealer and all these people. Some guy from New York wrote, I go to your site, I bought your book, and I go to your site, and there need to be the print, and I don't have a print. Maybe it was lost or something. Can you send me the print? My book in New York, come on. I do nothing. Because it's, as well, it lived its life. When the project born, it starts like a child. Like, you need to
let it
go
grow.
away. Go live your life.
And have you ever held the book? Has the book been in your hands again after all those?
No, it's
travels?
many books. It's 100 of books, not one.
Oh, I thought you created like one big the Bible and then.
No. Like edition of 100, but now it's 16 maybe sold somewhere.
Oh, awesome!
I bring it with me. I will show you. Yeah. And I think that it's not right because it's different ways to be an artist. Maybe you can be I think it's don't judge me. Don't
No, it's a safe
complain.
zone, so you can.
Because you can be super annoying art. No.
Well, you can be annoying artist. I mean, I would.
Yeah, I mean,
say
you can
many
say,
of-
can you see, look at my picture, look at my picture, look at or you can just make it because you just can't do it. Do not do it.
Yeah. You just have to.
You just
let
do
it
it
out,
because
yeah.
it's doing, and you can't do anything with yourself. But, it's like a honesty with yourself. It's not that guys that have PR and can write emails or something is bad. No. It's like a different ways to be an artist. Maybe I want to do it, but I just can't. It's not interesting for me. That's why. When you finish the project, it's so interesting. What will be?
What will happen with
Yes.
Yeah, well, all the PR stuff and advertising. I mean, it just kills the. It just kills it. Yeah.
Kills an art maybe, but it works.
It works, but I don't think that if it works, it's
It's connected with the art in general.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
if it's working, it doesn't mean that it's good, I guess, or that it's supposed to be like that. I mean, a lot
there
of
is
the
no
things.
good and bad
Yeah,
in
that's-
general.
Yeah.
We are
I
in
agree.
Japanese
The
Zen
Japanese
side.
garden. No, I agree, but yeah, there are many ways to be. That's for sure. And what would you say that art and the creative process is for you then? If you think that there is a creative force that kind of guides us to do things differently, and how do you connect it to your own decisions and your own view of art?
What is art for me? Art is a way of being. I think art is freedom. Is freedom that inside you. Art is love. Art is really it's a way of being. I think, as you said, yes, that there is some invisible force that don't divide everything good or bad. That it's just everywhere, and that I think that we are all whole one. You, me. There is no you and me. There is no this tree. There is no. It's all one world, and this connection, like.
No, that's okay. Don't worry.
I want to say so much, but it's language border is killing me.
No, I mean, I understand you perfectly, so don't worry.
Because it's so important theme for me. And I think that we are like just a hands for this energy, for this force, and everyone is an artist. We can. Who can do something with his or her hands, they do. Who can't, when you do something that you feel happy, when you feel on your place, when you feel that you're going on your way, when you just feel happy when you do it, except killing people. But if that people want to be
If you
killed,
must.
okay, it's a match, guys.
No, I
and it can be anything. It can be cooking. Cooking can be an
Yeah,
art.
cooking, yeah,
Just
for sure.
sleeping can be an art if you are really
If you're
happy
dreaming a
when
lot.
you do it.
Well, many movies I think
Drinking.
started from dreaming, not drinking, but drinking as well. So,
Maybe an art. I'm an artist.
wow.
Yeah,
I think that's the way of
many
Yeah.
artist is an artist. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's not the point. So What to say?
How do you? I mean, the most interesting
Oh,
part
yeah.
for me in your project was the view of human role in your project. Like, what's your role in it? Is it only being hands, or do
Oh.
you have a bit more authorship in that?
I think that maybe it's. Sorry. I think that we are a mirror. Maybe I will. Wait a minute. Yes, that all we have inside us, we have outside. The universe that surrounds us is inside us. And the art itself is a mirror for the viewer. Everyone see the art different ways. Someone, you even do not have to read the statement of the artwork. It can be like you see the work and boom, wow, what? You can cry, and someone can go and don't. Maybe that's why someone don't understand art. Many people said, "I don't understand art," because they don't understand themselves, because they don't. Look inside themselves. Don't ask questions. Maybe it's not this answer that you ask.
No,
I know.
no, it kind of is. But so you think that introspection is a big part of understanding art and
I think that art. I answer the previous question because it's important. The translator, it's a little bit slow. That art is a mirror of the viewer. This one, and what I like in art the most in contemporary art. In contemporary art, that art no longer represent. It ask the viewer, what do you represent?
Yeah.
I like it because that's why when you saw Pollock, and I start crying. I can't stop myself every time I see Pollock.
Really?
Yes, it's. I just sit and crying, and I feel all this pain. I don't understand, and I don't have pain inside me. It's not a mirror. I feel his pain. Maybe I was Pollock. I don't know.
well, if you say that everything is one, then you are Paul.
maybe that's why.
Then it's all the same pain, I
Yes.
guess.
I don't know. I will think about it. Not in English.
It's for the next PDP.
Maybe tomorrow and after tomorrow. We have 3 days for creativity.
What do you think about the one medium art today? Like, do you think that it still exists? Do you think that there is still place in the art world for?
It's Middle Ages to speak one media, because there are so many possibilities to speak your idea.
Yeah,
That
and the languages.
use just one media is forbidden. I think you need to go to jail.
We should legally forbid that.
Yeah. That's why I stopped doing photos, because I understand that there is a multi-linguistic language, like art. And if I can't speak this language, I will shut up, because I don't want to speak just on like languages. Like, якщо я почну розмовляти українською, то ти можеш мене не зрозуміти, а можеш зрозуміти. Але якщо я
ти розумієш?
бачиш, ти розумієш мене. Але якщо я не буду рухати руками чи якось там дивитись, то ти мене не зрозумієш. Якщо я буду просто, ти почуєш цю мову. Sorry.
Не, само ти настави. Можеш да наставиш на українському, слободно. Да, Тебе розуміла?
О, це
Не будемо
набагато
мене.
простіше буде. Let's try it спочатку.
Айде,
No,
спочатку.
no. So yeah, and about this multilinguistic language, that it's and you can see it's
Well, yeah, you have
jump
the
to
language
English,
of
it's,
smell, the
so
language
sad.
of sight, the language of touch. You have the language of
Yeah.
everything, and you can speak Swedish now, and I can speak Japanese, and we'll still kind of understand each other.
But oh, it's so hard to switch again. Це було так
Maybe you can
зручно,
try.
так було зручно, так рідненько. Добре. Good. Yeah, but the different languages, it's just a language, if speak in general. And even the simple. There are different people, not people. There are different, like, different types of people. Types. I forgot the word types. There are different types of people. That someone, it's better to understand when he or she hears something. So visuals,
Yeah.
this kinesthetic that want to touch something,
Yeah.
and digital that want to think about it. It's like more. Use their mind. It's different types of understanding each other.
Yeah.
That's why when you use every senses, it's will be understandable to everyone.
To everyone,
And it's like make a volume, not
Volume.
volume.
Volume?
Yes, volume.
Volume.
Of the project, and it's build some space, some universe, and like this. I love this. It's like illness, synesthesia.
Oh yeah. I
It's
know about it.
when someone hear music, she or he see color. My gosh, I want.
Well,
to-
I guess. I guess the artists can do that as well, in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they do.
They really do. Yeah, I know.
Yes. I tried it.
You try to know.
I tried to get ill, like synesthesia. Yeah.
And what do you plan something in the future? Do you have upcoming projects or?
Every my project is comes to me intuitivity. I don't. It's like catching the ideas. You just feel something and you understand that. Oh my God! I thinking about it a week. What is it? That it's even somewhere there. I even don't understand what about. Then you start collecting something, some feelings, words. Write down some photos and everything, and it's like it's not a miracle. But everyone can. Okay, when you saw some film or some movie and the phrase, oh my God, then you read the book and also this theme, it's coming to you without your permission.
Yeah, without your permission.
Okay, what
zero
do you want
personal
to
space.
say? And I think that comes to you and okay, what I need to say. And now I am working on project about reality, about it has no name, it has a lot of names like God, like a devil, but the real name doesn't appear yet. Half a year ago I was maybe because of lockdown I think too much And I understand that reality doesn't exist, and I want to prove it. Because there is no one reality for everybody, really. We see the colors other way, different ways. We hear the sound different ways. We taste, and we can't we can't compare it.
Yeah, you can't compare, and you will never know in your lifetime.
Yes.
You will never know
Yes.
what is.
Maybe I'm just looking like for you another way. I don't know, because when you say, okay, shoot me and I will see. But your face on photo looks different when someone shoots you. I think that it's from
A different angle?
Huh?
From a different angle? You
No.
mean? Or-
Different people shoot you one.
shoot.
I have
Okay.
some performance with that. I was standing in the studio, and people come to my studio and just shoot me. And it's like different people. Not different people. It's me,
Yeah.
but it's really different faces. Some ugly, some pretty, and that people didn't know me. I just speak with them 10 minutes and they shoot me from one.
From their point
yeah,
of view.
yeah. It was super interesting, but not about it. About reality, yeah. And I think that maybe reality do exist, but I try to find these bugs, not bugs, bugs like
Yeah, like
errors of reality, and because I think it's maybe we are in some computer game. I don't know. It's maybe someone play for us now. Maybe I need to finish some mission and we'll go to another level. I don't know.
Well, they could repeat this year then.
Yeah, maybe it's GTA, you know.
And so you're finding errors and bugs, and you're practically collecting them. And then-
Yes. I shoot them, but it's bugs for me. Maybe someone will. For example, it's a super silly example: the circle. But if you stand like to another angle, it will be oval. Yeah. Yeah, it's physics, but but I think it's error of
It's your
reality.
diploma on work. Finally, finally,
yes,
you have
yes.
time to
to
use
all
your
my
bachelor.
knowledge.
Well, Mama was right about that. Okay, and for what do you plan to do with your bugs from reality?
I don't know.
Do you have any idea how would you like to embody them into one?
I have many ideas, but it's it's sometimes you when you create some project, you feel when it's true, when it's just it needs to be like that. And when you start to creating something, to try to create in something, I understand that sometimes I have create some strange construction of I want to for example, I want to make a book about relationship, about love. That's another project that I shoot about love, and that's everything is changed. We need to reinvent the love itself. It's
Well, it sounds
it's hard.
It sounds really interesting. Do you have anything? Did you start a project?
Yeah. I
The
started the
invention of
project,
love?
and it's super critical. I was divorced like 2 years ago, and it was my decision. No,
Then congratulations,
but
I guess.
I don't know because it was super strange and doesn't matter. And I returned to the market of relationship, and I understand that everything changed and try to figure out what can I do there, and understand that love is gone. Love is gone, and it's another. Okay, can we talk about this? The relationship, this institution of relationship is changed, but there is no that love that that true love that shooting on films,
like
singing in songs, like
Prince on a white horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super changed, and it's okay. But people continue to live with that love that doesn't exist anymore. And that's why it's strange. And I was super physically not physically. I was in bad condition. I can't understand anything what's going on with myself. Now I understand, but
at that time, you mean?
Yeah. I was searching for myself. That's why I try to change everything in my life. No, but it's not. You're not a psychologist.
Well, I could be.
Okay, let's. But then I try to. It was I'm not proud of that period because I installed Tinder and start chatting with everybody and screenshotting all these messages, all these dick pics, all shooting dates and like secret shooting of the dates and everything.
So you arranged the date and then you didn't appear, but you were secretly there with the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and everything that. And I tried to, like a detective, find
do
this.
you know Sophie Kahl? Maybe
Yeah,
the artist?
yeah,
she's one of my
And
favorites.
Yeah, and then I understand, and it was super hard for me because it's not me. It's not. It was super. I feel myself so. And then I understand that love has nothing to do with somebody else. It's exists inside you, and it is as big as the universe. And the love, it's not like some pink. Hearts and pigeons with the with the leaves. I don't know. And love is incredible force, and it's need to stop to be emotion and start to be a force as it is.
And decision, I guess. Mm-hmm. Decision as well. I mean, you have to decide to love somebody. You wake up and, okay, I'm deciding to love this person today. And
every day.
Yeah.
You need to, and now with this project, I try to use different media because I write a book and about all that guys and all my thoughts about love, about everything, and shooting photos. And why I start telling about this project?
Oh, I asked you.
Yeah.
I think that's why.
Okay.
Well, I'm really looking forward to see how it ends up. That project.
Sure. Oh no! I start because this project, and when I start to do, I think that it is done when I. Shoot that project about love, and I want to make a book, then burn it in crematorium.
Crematorium, I think.
Crematorium. Then take these ashes and put in the jar, and it will be a book. The love that I burn and and I think it's over. It's not natural value. This
Well, it's
I do a lot of job. That's why this project is super important. No. And I don't remember why I started talking about this.
Well, it's
that
definitely
end.
an
Okay.
interesting.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.
And swim away.
Well, Svetlana, it was really nice speaking to you. I mean, we'll
hope
definitely
so.
continue after this interview.
In Ukrainian, por favor. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. And, well, we'll see each other on your exhibition and your workshop.
Can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Good luck. Go swim.
Thank you.
Thank you.